I want to talk to you about two things that can either hold you back or set you free. Blaming others and using what God gave you. All too often, when things go wrong, we look around to find someone to blame. We blame our circumstances, our past, other people, sometimes even those closest to us. We say things like, I'm not where I want to be because of my upbringing, or if only I had more support, more money, or better opportunities, I'd be successful. We find 100 reasons for why we're not achieving our dreams, but almost none of those reasons point back to us. And that's where we go wrong. Blaming others feels easy because it takes the pressure off. It gives us a way out, a reason to stop trying, a reason to settle. But let me tell you something. Blaming doesn't build success. Blaming doesn't build resilience, character, or strength. In fact, it does the exact opposite. Blaming others keeps you exactly where you are. Stuck, frustrated, and waiting for something outside of you to change. Blaming others can feel comforting, especially when life throws challenges our way. After all, it's easier to point the finger and say, if only this hadn't happened, or if they hadn't done this to me, things would be different. But in the end, blaming others only keeps us trapped, feeling helpless and disempowered, as though we have no control over our future. The truth is that growth, success, and fulfillment all require one essential shift: taking full responsibility for our lives. The moment we stop blaming others and accept that we have the power to change things, we unlock a world of potential within ourselves. Taking responsibility means realizing that even if things have happened outside of our control, our reactions to them and the choices we make moving forward are entirely ours. Yes, life can be unfair, and yes, people can let us down or wrong us, but what we choose to do with those experiences is what shapes our lives. There might not be able to control the hand we're dealt, but we can always choose how we play it. When we let go of blame, we start to recognize our own agency. We become active participants in our lives rather than passive recipients of circumstances. One of the most liberating things about taking responsibility is that it allows us to finally focus on solutions rather than problems. Blaming others often keeps us stuck, focusing on what went wrong, who caused it, and why things aren't as they should be. But once we make the decision to own our part, we open ourselves to finding answers, even if they're not easy or straightforward. Rather than feeling weighed down by what happened in the past, we can direct our energy toward what we want in the future. This shift in focus brings a sense of hope and purpose because we're no longer relying on others to change or make amends. Instead, we're empowered to create a better situation ourselves, regardless of the past. Taking responsibility also means accepting that we are not perfect and that we might have contributed to certain challenges. This can be hard to accept, especially if we feel we've been wronged or if we're hurt by others' actions. But acknowledging our own role, even in small ways, allows us to learn and grow. Perhaps there are patterns or habits we need to change, or maybe we need to work on our communication or boundaries. Owning our role doesn't mean blaming ourselves unfairly. It means looking honestly at our actions and deciding what we can improve going forward. When we take responsibility, we're choosing growth over comfort, knowing that self-reflection and self-improvement are keys to creating a better future. Another benefit of taking responsibility is that it builds resilience. Life is unpredictable, and we will face obstacles and setbacks no matter how careful we are. If we always rely on blaming others, we're left at the mercy of every challenge that comes our way, waiting for others to fix it. But when we take responsibility, we recognize our own power to adapt and overcome. We become stronger, more resourceful, and more confident in our ability to handle whatever life throws at us. This resilience carries us through tough times, reminding us that we are capable of navigating challenges without needing others to change. Taking responsibility also frees us from the emotional burden that comes with blaming others. Blame can create bitterness, anger, and resentment, which weigh heavily on us over time. When we hold on to these negative feelings, they can cloud our judgment and keep us from enjoying life fully. By taking responsibility, we can let go of these emotions and focus on what truly matters: our growth, happiness, and goals. We're no longer carrying the weight of past hurts or perceived injustices. Instead, we're focused on moving forward, free from the negativity that comes with blame. Finally, me taking responsibility builds trust and respect with others. When we stop blaming and start owning our actions, people see that we're reliable and accountable. They know we won't point fingers if things go wrong. Instead, we'll work to make things right. This quality not only strengthens relationships, but also opens doors in our personal and professional lives. People are drawn to those who are accountable, and they are more likely to support and collaborate with us when they know we won't resort to blame. Taking responsibility is challenging, especially in a world where it's easy to find reasons to blame others. But the benefits of this choice are profound and transformative. By choosing responsibility, we choose to be empowered, resilient, and focused on solutions. We gain the freedom to move beyond past hurts and step confidently into a future that we shape with our actions. Rather than feeling trapped by circumstances, we become active creators of our destiny, using our experiences as tools for growth and stepping stones toward success. And in the end, this choice to stop blaming and take responsibility gives us not only the power to change our lives, but also the satisfaction of knowing that we did it on our terms with strength, integrity, and purpose. Each of us has a unique set of talents, strengths, and qualities. And these are gifts that often go unnoticed or undervalued because we're too focused on comparing ourselves to others. We might look at someone else's success and think, if only I had what they have. This mindset can make us feel that we lack something essential when, in reality, we already have so much within us. God has blessed each of us with distinct talents, personalities, and resources that make us who we are. The real question is not what others have, but rather, what are we doing with what we've been given? It's easy to get caught up in wishing we had different skills, a different background, or more advantages. We may believe that success would be easy if we had certain privileges, connections, or support that others seem to enjoy. However, by focusing on what we lack, we often miss out on the powerful tools we do possess. The key is to shift our focus from what we don't have to what we do. His shift in perspective opens our eyes to resources, strengths, and abilities that may have gone unnoticed or underdeveloped. When we choose to value and develop these qualities, we can make the most of our own journey, creating a life that reflects our own potential. One of the first steps in using what we have is to identify our strengths. Sometimes we assume that our strengths are only valuable if they look like those of others or if they bring instant success. But our strengths don't have to fit any specific mold. They are often hidden in the things we enjoy doing, the skills we find ourselves naturally drawn to, or the areas where we've had success, even in small ways. Whether it's a talent for solving problems, an empathetic nature, or a creative mind, every strength we possess is an asset that can be developed and applied to various areas of life. Recognizing these strengths is the foundation of self-belief. It reinforces the idea that we already have tools we can use to move forward. Once we identify our strengths, the next step is to cultivate them. Like a muscle, our strengths grow with use and practice. This means dedicating time and energy to developing our talents, honing our skills, and expanding our knowledge. Growth requires effort and persistence. And when we embrace the process, we begin to see how much potential lies within us. Cultivating our strengths also means stepping out of our comfort zones, trying new things, and not being afraid of failure. When we take ownership of our strengths, we're not waiting for perfect conditions or for someone else to provide us with opportunities. Instead, we're actively creating our path by investing in what we already had. Using what God has given us also means finding ways to apply our strengths in meaningful ways. Purpose comes from using our abilities not only to benefit ourselves, but also to help others. Whether it's in our relationships, our work, or our communities, there are countless ways to make an impact with what we already have. For example, if you have a talent for encouraging others, you can uplift people in your daily interactions. If you have a skill in organizing, you can help bring order to your environment, making it more efficient and harmonious for everyone around you. When we use our gifts to serve others, we find fulfillment and a sense of purpose that cannot be achieved by simply focusing on what we lack. It's important to remember that everyone's journey is unique. Comparing ourselves to others only leads to dissatisfaction and frustration. Instead, we should focus on our individual journey and trust that our unique combination of experiences, strengths, and talents was given to us for a reason. God didn't make any mistakes when He created us. He gave us exactly what we need to fulfill our purpose in life. Each person's path is different, and our strengths are designed to support us on our own unique journey. Embracing this truth allows us to move forward confidently, knowing that we are equipped to succeed in our own way. When we choose to focus on what we have rather than on what we lack, we cultivate gratitude. Gratitude is a powerful tool that shifts our mindset from scarcity to abundance. When we're thankful for what we have, we become more open to using it creatively and effectively. Gratitude helps us recognize the value in our gifts, no matter how big or small they may seem. It keeps us grounded and reminds us that we have enough to start where we are and grow from there. In the end, we are all given unique resources, strengths, and talents for a reason. Our responsibility is to recognize them, develop them, and use them to create a positive impact. When we stop focusing on what we don't have and start valuing and applying what we do have, we unlock the potential for a fulfilling, purposeful life that is uniquely ours. Challenges are an inevitable part of life, and no one is exempt from facing them. They come in many forms: setbacks, disappointments, losses, or even periods of uncertainty. Often, our first instinct when confronted with challenges is to view them as obstacles meant to hinder us. We might feel frustrated, overwhelmed, or even defeated, and sometimes we look around for something or someone to blame. But here's the truth: challenges are not there to stop us. They are there to build us. Challenges build character, shape resilience, and teach us lessons that only experience can provide. When we embrace our challenges as opportunities for growth, we unlock the power to transform ourselves and our lives. The first step in using challenges to build character is shifting our perspective. Challenges feel uncomfortable because they disrupt our lives and take us out of our comfort zones. It's natural to want to avoid discomfort, but true growth happens only when we allow ourselves to stretch beyond what is easy. Imagine an athlete training to improve their strength. They don't become stronger by lifting light weights that require little effort. They build muscle by lifting progressively heavier weights, pushing their bodies to adapt. Similarly, when we face challenges, we are being strength trained for life. Each difficult situation is an opportunity to build resilience, mental toughness, and adaptability, qualities that cannot be developed without going through hard times. When we start viewing challenges as character-building exercises, our entire mindset shifts. Instead of focusing on the frustration, we start looking for the lessons. For example, a challenge at work might teach us patience and problem solving. A difficult relationship could teach us empathy, communication skills, or the importance of setting healthy boundaries. Financial struggles might teach us discipline, budgeting skills, and gratitude for what we have. Every hardship contains a lesson, but it's up to us to find it. This is where personal growth truly begins. By choosing to find meaning in our struggles, we cultivate a mindset that can turn any obstacle into an opportunity for self-improvement. One of the most valuable qualities that challenges build is resilience. Resilience is our ability to bounce back from setbacks and keep moving forward despite adversity. It's like an emotional and mental muscle gets stronger each time we face a challenge. When we encounter a setback, whether it's big or small, and find the courage to keep going, we're building resilience. This doesn't mean that the challenges we face won't be painful or difficult, but it means that we learn to endure and even thrive in the face of hardship. Life will always have ups and downs, but when we have resilience, we become better equipped to handle the lows and make the most of the highs. Challenges also reveal our strengths and capabilities in ways that easy times cannot. When everything is going smoothly, we rarely have to dig deep or push ourselves. It's when we're tested, when we're forced to confront our fears or limitations, that we discover our true potential. Challenges push us to think creatively, act courageously, and persist even when things seem impossible. Each time we overcome an obstacle, we gain a little more confidence in our abilities and a little more faith in ourselves. We begin to understand that we are capable of more than we ever realized. This self-awareness is one of the greatest gifts of adversity. Another way that challenges build character is by fostering empathy and compassion. When we go through tough times, we become more understanding of others who may be going through their own struggles. We learn firsthand what it feels like to face hardship, and this can soften our hearts, making us more patient and compassionate toward others. The challenges we face allow us to connect with people on a deeper level because we understand what it's like to struggle, to feel vulnerable, or to overcome difficulty. This empathy becomes part of our character, making us more caring, supportive individuals. In addition, challenges teach us humility and gratitude. Sometimes it takes a setback or failure to remind us that we don't have all the answers and that life doesn't always go as planned. This can be a humbling experience, but it's also a valuable one. Humility keeps us grounded and reminds us that we are always learning, always growing. It helps us appreciate the good times more deeply because we know what it feels like to go through hardship. Challenges teach us not to take things for granted and to be grateful for every blessing, no matter how small. Gratitude, in turn, builds a positive outlook, which helps us approach future challenges with optimism and hope. Challenges are transformative. They mold us into stronger, wiser, and more compassionate versions of ourselves. They are not just obstacles to be overcome, they are opportunities to become better people. When we choose to embrace challenges rather than avoid or blame others for them, we take control of our own growth. We begin to see that every difficulty we face has a purpose, a lesson to teach, and a gift to offer. Instead of fearing challenges, we can learn to welcome them, knowing that they are shaping us into the people we are meant to be. By facing challenges head-on and finding the strength to overcome them, we build character, resilience, and a sense of purpose that will carry us forward through anything life may bring. It's often said that the only limits we have are the ones we place on ourselves. But it's surprising how many of us unknowingly create barriers through excuses. Every time we face a challenge, experience failure, or feel uncertain, it's easy to reach for an excuse. I don't have enough time. I don't have the resources, or I'm not talented enough. Excuses are convenient because they allow us to justify staying where we are. However, they also keep us from moving forward, from taking action, and from reaching our full potential. Breaking free from excuses is one of the most powerful steps we can take to unlock our potential and make real progress toward our dreams. Excuses often stem from a fear of failure or discomfort. It's natural to want to avoid situations where we might not succeed, and excuses serve as a buffer, keeping us safely within our comfort zones. However, growth never happens in comfort. When we repeatedly tell ourselves that we're not capable, don't have enough time, or need to wait for the perfect opportunity, we're essentially giving ourselves permission to stay stagnant. Breaking free from excuses requires a shift in mindset and acceptance that while taking risks might feel uncomfortable, it's essential for growth. This mindset shift begins with recognizing that every excuse we make is holding us back from achieving our true potential. One of the most common excuses people use is a lack of time. If only I had more time, I could pursue my goals, we might say. However, time is a resource that everyone has in equal measure, minus 24 hours in a day. People who achieve their goals aren't those who have more time, but rather those who make better use of it. Breaking free from the lack of time excuse involves prioritizing our commitments and making sacrifices if necessary. This might mean waking up an hour earlier, reducing time spent on distractions like social media, or dedicating weekends to personal projects. When we shift our mindset from "I don't have time" to "I will make time," we reclaim control over our schedules and demonstrate to ourselves that our goals are worth the effort. Another common excuse is a lack of resources. Many people believe that they can't start working toward their dreams without money, connections, or certain materials. While resources are certainly helpful, they're often not as essential as we think. Some of the most successful people in history started with nothing but an idea and a willingness to work hard. Instead of focusing on what we lack, we can focus on what we do have and what we can do with it. For example, if we lack money, we might look for ways to learn skills for free online, build connections through social media, or start small with the tools we already own. Creativity often arises from limitations. So instead of seeing a lack of resources as a roadblock, we can use it as an opportunity to find unique solutions. The fear of not being good enough is also a significant barrier that keeps people trapped in their excuses. Many of us feel that we need to be perfectly prepared, fully skilled, or 100% confident before we take any steps toward our goals. However, no one starts out perfect. The most successful people are often those who started when they felt unprepared, learned from their mistakes, and improved along the way. Breaking free from this excuse means embracing the idea that growth is a process. We may not feel ready, but if we take the first step, we'll build confidence and skills through experience. Instead of waiting until we feel good enough, we can remind ourselves that we are already capable of learning and growing, and that's all we need to get started. Breaking free from excuses also requires us to take ownership of our actions. Excuses often place the blame on external factors, suggesting that we're held back by things outside of our control. But when we take ownership, we realize that our success is ultimately up to us. Instead of saying, "I can't succeed because of this circumstance," we can say, "What can I do despite this circumstance?" Ownership empowers us to find solutions instead of getting stuck in blame. It reminds us that while we might not control everything, we always control how we respond. This ownership shifts our mindset from victimhood to empowerment and keeps us focused on what we can change. Breaking free from excuses means committing to a mindset of persistence. When we decide that we won't let excuses hold us back, we're committing to pushing through challenges, setbacks, and failures. This persistence builds resilience, teaching us that obstacles are a natural part of any journey. When we embrace persistence, we develop the mental toughness required to navigate setbacks without giving up. Excuses become irrelevant because we're focused on finding solutions and moving forward. But in the end, excuses may feel like comfort, but they are simply barriers standing between us and our goals. By breaking free from excuses, we give ourselves the chance to fully embrace our potential, explore our strengths, and achieve our dreams. We begin to see that we are capable of far more than we ever imagined, and each step forward reinforces our ability to overcome limitations. Letting go of excuses allows us to live with purpose, power, and a renewed sense of confidence that our goals are within reach if we're willing to pursue them relentlessly. When faced with obstacles, setbacks, or simply the challenges of everyday life, it's easy to spend a lot of our energy finding reasons for why things aren't going well. We might place blame on others, dwell on the unfairness of circumstances, or allow ourselves to be caught up in regret and disappointment. But while this focus on problems can feel justifiable in the moment, it ultimately doesn't help us move forward. In fact, it often drains us, leaving us stuck in a cycle of negativity. Imagine what could happen if instead we directed that energy toward building something positive in our lives. When we choose to focus on solutions rather than on blame, we take control of our actions and our future. The energy that might otherwise be spent on frustration can then become fuel for growth, creativity, and success. Using our energy to build rather than blame requires a shift in focus from what's wrong to what we can do. This approach is sometimes called a solution-oriented mindset. Instead of spending hours or even days ruminating over what went wrong and who is at fault, a solution-oriented mindset looks at any challenge and immediately begins to search for ways to make the situation better. This shift in focus has a powerful effect. It creates momentum. The more we focus on solutions, the more possibilities we see, and the more motivated we feel to act on them. This doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending that challenges don't exist. It simply means choosing to approach them constructively rather than destructively. A major benefit of focusing on building rather than blaming is that it leads to real positive change. Blame can be comforting in the short term because it gives us an outlet for frustration, but it doesn't actually change anything. Building, on the other hand, is all about creating change. When we take action, whether that's learning a new skill, developing a positive habit, or tackling a project, we're actively making our lives better. Every small step we take toward improvement adds up over time. And before we know it, we've made significant progress. Instead of waiting for someone else to change or fix the situation, we become empowered to make those changes ourselves. This empowerment brings a sense of freedom as we realize that we don't have to rely on anyone else to create the life we want. Using our energy to build also helps us develop resilience. When we focus on solutions and take action, we learn to adapt, think creatively, and face difficulties with a proactive attitude. Each challenge we face becomes an opportunity to grow stronger and more capable. Instead of letting obstacles wear us down, we start to view them as opportunities to practice problem solving and persistence. This resilience is incredibly valuable, as life will always bring unexpected challenges. By focusing on building rather than blaming, we develop the ability to bounce back from setbacks and continue moving forward, no matter what. Another important aspect of building rather than blaming is that it improves our relationships with others. Blame often leads to conflict, resentment, and a breakdown in trust, especially in close relationships. When we focus on blaming others, we're often unwilling to see our own role in a situation, which can make it difficult to resolve conflicts constructively. But when we shift our focus to building, we're more likely to approach others with understanding and collaboration. We start looking for ways to solve problems together, to support one another, and to work as a team rather than pointing fingers. This approach builds trust, strengthens connections, and fosters a positive environment where people feel valued and understood. Relationships thrive when people work together to find solutions, and by focusing on building, we contribute to a culture of cooperation and respect. Building rather than blaming also cultivates a mindset of personal accountability. When we decide to take control of our actions and focus on what we can change, we accept responsibility for our own lives. We stop waiting for others to solve our problems, and we stop relying on circumstances to magically improve. Instead, we take ownership of our choices and actions, understanding that we have the power to shape our own outcomes. This accountability is deeply empowering because it reminds us that regardless of what's happening around us, we have the ability to make a difference in our own lives. By choosing to focus on what we can do, we reclaim our power, turning challenges into opportunities for growth and self-discovery. Lastly, using our energy to build leads to a greater sense of fulfillment and purpose. When we're actively working toward positive goals, we feel a sense of direction and accomplishment that blame can never provide. Blame leaves us feeling empty, bitter, and frustrated. Building, however, brings satisfaction because it allows us to create something meaningful, whether that's a skill we've mastered, a project we've completed, or a relationship we've nurtured. Each step we take toward building something better adds to our sense of purpose and fills us with pride in our achievements. This sense of purpose gives us the motivation to keep going, even when things are tough, because we know that our efforts are leading us somewhere worthwhile. In the end, life is too short and precious to waste on blame and negativity. By choosing to direct our energy toward building, we take control of our future, empower ourselves, and create a life that reflects our values, goals, and dreams. We find joy in progress, strength in resilience, and purpose in our actions. The choice to build rather than blame may not always be easy, but it's one of the most powerful choices we can make to live a fulfilling and impactful life. In life, there's a tendency to wait for the perfect time or ideal circumstances to pursue our goals. We tell ourselves we'll start working toward our dreams once we feel more prepared, have more resources, or when the timing seems just right. But the truth is, waiting for the perfect moment is often just another way of avoiding action. Rarely, if ever, do circumstances align in a way that makes the path forward entirely clear and easy. The reality is that there is no perfect time. If we wait for ideal conditions, we might wait forever. Success is built by starting with what we have, right where we are, and making progress every day. Embracing this mindset allows us to take ownership of our dreams and pursue them proactively, rather than waiting for conditions to align. One of the biggest misconceptions about achieving goals is the belief that we need to be fully prepared before we begin. While preparation is valuable, there's a point at which excessive preparation becomes a form of procrastination. We convince ourselves that we'll act once we have more skills, more money, or more confidence, but often this waiting only keeps us stagnant. Growth happens when we take action, even if we're not completely ready. Each step we take allows us to learn, gain experience, and build confidence. By starting with what we know now, we open the door to opportunities for learning and improvement that we wouldn't encounter if we were merely waiting on the sidelines. Starting with what we have also requires a shift in focus from seeing what we lack to appreciating what we possess. We all have unique strengths, talents, and resources, no matter how limited they may seem at first. A lack of resources often encourages creativity, forcing us to find innovative ways to work with what we have. Many successful people began with very little but found ways to maximize what was available to them. For example, an aspiring writer might start by sharing stories on a blog. An entrepreneur might launch a small-scale version of their business idea, and an artist might use affordable materials to build a portfolio. By starting small, we learn to make the most of what we have, building the foundation for future success. There is also great power in taking consistent small steps toward a goal. When we focus on making progress each day, we build momentum, which is key to overcoming obstacles and maintaining motivation. The act of starting, no matter how small, sets the wheels in motion. Once we've taken the first step, the second step becomes easier, and each step after that builds on the last. Consistency and persistence allow us to move steadily toward our goals, even if the path is challenging. Progress may feel slow, but every small action brings us closer to where we want to be. Over time, these incremental steps lead to meaningful change and growth that we might not have achieved had we waited for ideal conditions. In addition to building momentum, starting where we are helps us build resilience and adaptability. Life is unpredictable, and waiting for perfect conditions often leaves us unprepared to handle unexpected challenges. When we take action despite less than ideal circumstances, we learn how to adapt and overcome obstacles. This resilience is a critical skill for long-term success as we inevitably face challenges and setbacks. By beginning now, we practice dealing with real-world obstacles rather than waiting for smooth sailing. This experience strengthens our problem-solving skills, teaching us how to adjust our plans and continue moving forward even when things aren't perfect. Another benefit of starting with what we have is that it helps us build confidence. Confidence doesn't come from waiting, it comes from doing. Each small action, no matter how imperfect, contributes to a growing sense of self-assurance. When we see ourselves taking steps toward our goals, we start to believe in our abilities and see ourselves as capable of achieving more. This self-confidence is invaluable as it fuels our motivation and helps us persevere when things get tough. The more we act, the more we believe in ourselves, creating a positive cycle that drives us to keep going. When we start with what we have, we also give ourselves the opportunity to learn through experience. Real learning doesn't happen in theory, it happens in practice. The challenges we face along the way teach us important lessons that we could never learn by waiting for ideal conditions. These lessons make us more skilled, knowledgeable, and prepared to handle future opportunities. Mistakes and setbacks become stepping stones, each one contributing to our growth and understanding. As we accumulate experience, we become more adept at navigating the path toward our goals, making us better prepared for future challenges and successes. Waiting for the perfect time is a way of putting our dreams on hold. When we choose to start with what we have, we send a message to ourselves that our goals are worth pursuing now, not someday. This proactive approach empowers us to take control of our lives rather than leaving our future to chance. It reminds us that we don't have to wait for anyone or anything to grant us permission to begin. We can take that first step right now with whatever resources, skills, or support we currently have. In the end, the journey toward our goals is about progress, not perfection. By starting where we are, we give ourselves permission to learn, grow, and improve along the way. There will always be challenges, and there will always be things we don't have. But the decision to act, to take that first step, is what sets successful people apart. Embracing the idea that there is no perfect time allows us to live a life of purpose and fulfillment, driven by the knowledge that we are actively creating the future we desire, one step at a time.